What's up guys, welcome back to Gladiators Tribe. My name is Grisha and this is the Frame Duel, and in today's battle we'll be comparing the Wilson Blade 98 16x19 2025 and the Yonex Ezone 98 2025. Why those two? Well, because they're some of the best selling rackets in the world and some of the most popular rackets on my channel, and you glads have been all asking me to compare these two rackets, even though in my opinion they're not exactly the most comparable frames because they're kind of meant for different purposes and different players, but everything is not as simple as it might seem at first. But nevertheless, today we'll be figuring out which one of these two titans is the better racket for you and for your tennis, and without further ado, check out the specs. Okay, so here's the thing. These rackets should not even be compared against each other in the first place, simply because they're meant for different purposes. The Wilson Blade is a control-oriented racket that can spin the ball and is not too demanding when it comes to generating a certain amount of power, whereas the Ezone 98 is a powerful racket that can really spin the ball, and control comes as a bonus. And yet, we are comparing them because if you look at the spec sheet, the differences are so minor and the sales numbers are so huge that the question of which one is better and which one I should get gets asked involuntarily. Both of these rackets have been featured on the Gladiators Tribe channel on multiple occasions, and I've only said good things about both of them. And even though, as I said, these two rackets are not meant for the same kind of player, me being a control-oriented, aggressive all-courter, I'm actually struggling to pick between these two because they both have certain elements that make you want to come back to them every time. So I guess it means that it makes total sense to compare them. To help you figure out which one is better for you, we're first going to do a shot-by-shot analysis and then analyze every aspect of the racket to hopefully come to a conclusion that satisfies everyone. Okay, that's pretty much impossible, but we'll try. And let's go ahead and start with the forehand. Both of these rackets perform mesmerizingly, is that even a word, on the forehand side, and actually this is the first hint to the reason for the huge sales numbers. If you think about it, whenever you play test a racket, you make your first impression based on the first few forehands that you hit, and then that impression more often than not tends to stick no matter the performance on all of the other shots. Me, being a professional tennis and tennis racket YouTuber, I have to be objective and thorough with my evaluation of the rackets and not fall into this trap, but I'm jumping right into it when it comes to these two rackets. They both give you the confidence, the feel, and the comfort that you deserve. The Blade is more controlled, but the Ezone is more forgiving and more powerful. And honestly, that forgiveness that comes with the huge, and I mean huge, sweet spot that comes from the isometric head on the Yonex is what tips the forehand scale in favor of the Ezone for me. I simply don't remember myself producing such an insane amount of down the line winners as I do with the Ezone with any other racket. Now, when it comes to the backhand, I don't know what was going through my head when I gave the Ezone a higher backhand score than to the Blade, but that's completely not true. Because of the slightly more head-heavy nature of the Blade compared to the Ezone, the racket feels more stable on impact and allows for better penetration through the ball, and that is truly noticeable, and for me, it's a key selling point because I do really care more about the feeling on my backhand than I do with my forehand. Volleys now, and here the Ezone definitely takes the point because it's very stable on impact with the ball, and plus the huge sweet spot, it's just a no-brainer when it comes to the net game. Like, the only time you really notice lack of stability or penetration with the Ezone 98 is on the backhand side, but volleys work perfectly. Whether it's due to the shorter swing on the volley or the higher incoming speed of the ball on impact, but the point is, volleying with this huge sweet spot and confidence-inspiring frame is a pleasure of its own. Serve is a tough one, because from the box I serve better with the Blade, no questions asked, because I just struggle way too much when trying to control the pure power of the Ezone 98. But after getting used to the racket and spending a few hours serving with it, woohoo, does the potential open up and the flat first serves become absolutely unreturnable. I mean, have you seen Nick Kyrgios serve? Glads, if you feel like one of the rackets that's spinning behind me is your next weapon of choice, you know where to get them. The link to Tennis Warehouse is going to be down in the description below, together with our exclusive discount code that will help you save some cash. And actually, the Wilson blade is currently available on the Tennis Warehouse website in the Roland Garros paint job, which looks really cool. And the normal version of it is actually currently already discounted, so you know, it's a pretty cool deal. And the Yonex Ezone 98s are always, but like always, out of stock, but they're actually going to be available for pre-order today, on the day that this video is released. And have you seen just how many players actually use the Yonex Ezone 98 on tour? But let's be honest, it does not even nearly compare to the amount of players who are using the Blade 98, because that's actually crazy. But yes, on that, back to the review. Now let's talk about the more objective aspects of the two rackets, starting with the power. And here obviously the point for power goes to the Ezone, because as I said, it's a powerful racket in its core. Control has to go to the blade because what? Yes, it's a control oriented racket in its core. Next up, spin. And although the blade can absolutely spin the ball, no questions asked, it's far from being the first thing that comes up when you think and when you play test the Wilson blade. And although the Ezone is not a Babolat pure aero by any means, in my hands it can spin the ball better than the blade. So the point goes to the Yonex. In terms of stability, both rackets are really good. The 18x20 version of the blade beats them both. I don't know why I'm mentioning it, but in terms of overall stability, it is a hard pick because they perform better in different shots. But because of the much needed stability and penetration that I get from the blade on the backhands, this time goes to Wilson. Next up, feel, and this one is a rather controversial term because it is really hard to define feel. Is it how good you feel on impact with the ball, or is it how good you feel the ball when it's impacting your racket? It's actually two different things. Or is it how good you feel hitting with this rackets when the ladies are watching? I don't know. But if it's the first option, it's the Ezone. If it's the second option, it's the blade. And if it's the third, it's kind of a tie. However, I'm going to be subjective here and give it to the racket that has less soothing but more crisp feel of the ball, and it has to be the blade. Now comes comfort, maneuverability, and forgiveness. And hey, comfort and forgiveness go to the Ezone without even thinking about it. And maneuverability, I have to think about it a little bit, but still the Ezone takes the lead here. So there's really only one last aspect left to discuss, and that would be the looks. And this is literally like a love and love for blade because it's smoking hot and the Ezone is just average looking. So there you have it, Glads. And yes, I know that if you right now just take a look at the scores and at the grades of this comparison, the Yonex Ezone, it has a clear win and it's absolutely undebatable. But I really don't think that this win is as obvious as it might look on paper, because both of these rackets are objectively really good, and it will really come down to personal preference. So if you don't have a chance to play test these rackets for some reason, maybe they don't ship it to your country, or you just don't have any available, you know, tennis stores that have play testing rackets, I would actually go for the Yonex Ezone 98, simply because it's actually a safer bet, mainly because of that forgiveness and because of that sweet spot, and it's just an easier racket to get into, to play with, and it's just also better for, you know, intermediate players. But if you do have the chance to play test them, Tennis Warehouse Europe and Tennis Warehouse actually offer those services. I would highly recommend that you do and decide for yourself, because they're both really good frames and the scores are really just for you to kind of have an idea, but it will really come down to you playing with the rackets and deciding which one is better. Because in the end of the day, I'm seeing the Wilson Blade 98 way more often than I do see the Ezone 98 out there, so you know, it's really hard to tell which one I would go for myself. That's actually a very hard pick. For sure, if it was the 18x20 blade, I would go with the blade, because I actually put it at #1 spot of best rackets of 2024. So it's obvious. The 16x19 version is a little more spinny, a little more powerful, which is not something I particularly value in a racket. So I would maybe go for the Yonex Ezone 98 myself, just because of that insanely crazy forehand that I'm managing to generate with the Ezone. But you know, the lack on the backhand is kind of that thing that makes me doubt. Don't forget that if you want to buy these rackets, the links to get them are going to be down in the description below, together with our discount code. And that's it from me for today. I really hope that you've enjoyed this frame duel. Let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments below. Like always, my name is Grisha, you're watching Gladiators Tribe, and I will see you glads in the next one. Bye bye.